So this is going to be our third R of the 4 R's that I use in this gut healing process. And this is actually the repair phase. So I mentioned in our first video of what leaky gut is that we have this barrier that's dysfunctional. And unfortunately, there's a layer of mucus that slides in between these two barriers, and it's called secretory IgA or secretory IgA, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And what I mean, this has actually a layer of basically slime or mucus that actually stops pathogens from getting inside our body that are not supposed to be there. So it's kind of a really important structure. So we can do a lot to repair this barrier once we get the digestive process working again, and again once we take out these foreign particles to our body that are causing our symptoms to begin with. So that comes back to your diet. So let's talk about some strategies I might use to help soothe those membranes or soothe that inflammation inside the gut there. Number one, there's an amino acid called L-glutamine. And L-glutamine is one of those things that we know is one of the most effective things we can put in the body for helping the intestinal mobility get back to where it's supposed to be. So L-glutamine I use in a supplemental form. I use between 15 and 30 grams a day depending on the person. And sometimes I use it in a combination product. So L-glutamine is really one of those things that also does provide a little bit of nutrition for those probiotics we're going to be supporting in the next phase of the 4 R's. The other thing I like is licorice root and marshmallow root. So these two together do a great job at actually helping to soothe the membrane, actually help promote, create a little bit more of that mucous membrane that's maybe deficient if you have that leaky gut syndrome. So another really good one. And those two also are super effective if you struggle with heartburn. So if you find that you're eating foods and getting heartburn, these licorice roots and marshmallow roots are incredible for those of you that are having that heartburn symptom. I also like amino acid therapies. So unfortunately, because of the fact that most of the proteins are poorly digested, we're pooping most of those guys out. And our bodies really do respond incredibly to amino acid therapies. So for me, I use a complex amino acid therapy. So I had them in liquids and I have them also in tablets. So depending on what your need is, I might use those to kind of get a little bit more of those building blocks of proteins back to your day to really help your gut get and help your energy levels come back to where they should be based on putting this repair phase back in place. Another big one is vitamin D. So vitamin D, yes, it is the sunshine vitamin. I have quite a nice tan right now because we've got some great weather in Newfoundland this summer. But for most of us, vitamin D actually is one of those things we're deficient in. And we're learning over time that our guts are actually responsible for what we call sulfating our vitamin D, or making it biologically active so we can actually reach those targeted cells that are screaming for vitamin D. So with a improperly functioning gut, maybe you're taking vitamin D every day, and sometimes people take big doses of vitamin D, but it's not doing anything. And that's because the gut is dysfunctional, and those sulfur groups can't be added to that vitamin D to get it to be biologically active. So it might not be the best thing to just pile you full of vitamin D right at the start. You want to get this gut repaired first before you start doing that. Vitamin A is another crucial factor in our gut that actually helps soothe those, again, that mucous membrane layer. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means it absorbs in the fat tissue of your body. You actually don't pee it out like you do a regular water-soluble vitamin. But vitamin A is found in those foods that are heavily laced with fats. So those butters, those ghees, those those organ meats, that kind of stuff is where you're going to pick up vitamin A, and unfortunately most of us don't eat enough of that, so we're deficient in vitamin A. So again, rarely do I supplement individually with individual fat-soluble vitamins. I put them all together, so I put A, D, E, and K together. But vitamin A is another really important one for gut health. So this is some of the stuff that I use for that membrane repair, and that's kind of something that I might use in a 4-hour program with you. And our last part here is going to be about probiotics. So I'm going to do another individual video about probiotics. So click below to see.